In. Good evening and welcome to our live today. So today we're going to be looking at the infrastructure ripple effect in Abuja real estate market. But before we go ahead, I'd like to know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me properly, just drop your best emoji in the comment section, right? So let me see those emojis. If you can hear me clearly, I just want to understand that you can hear me clearly. Okay. All right. So if you're meeting me for the very first time, my name is Priscilla Ngu Loho. And today we'll be talking about something very important, very interesting, and powerful in real estate. It is something that is very common around us. We see it happen around us every day, but most times we barely pay attention to it, right? Yet this is one factor that quietly determines the value of properties anywhere in the world. So again, our topic for today is the infrastructure ripple effect in Abuja real estate market. So if you want to invest in real estate, if you want to buy maybe land or house, or you want to understand why property prices appreciate very often, then this life is for you. You are in the right place. Because if you understand this concept, if you understand how this work, you'll be able to position yourself properly and invest rightly, especially in a national market like Abuja. So let me start with a very simple question. What do you think land in places like, why do you think land in places like Guzape used to be very cheap years ago, but today many people struggle to afford properties in this particular area? Why? Because the land did not change, right? The land did not change. The soil did not change. What actually changed is the infrastructure. Now, if you look at Guzape today, Guzape has very wide roads, beautiful wide roads, drainages, beautiful architectural designed houses, modern architectural design houses, has schools, malls, hospitals, churches in Guzape. When you go to Guzape, you're awed by the way it is, how beautiful it is. But years ago, it was, especially when it was, newly carved out of Asokoro, when it was bush. So something definitely happened. And that is called the infrastructure ripple effect. So roads improved, access became easier, businesses moved in, people moved in, and suddenly land that people once ignored became very valuable. Like I said, this is what we call the infrastructure ripple effect. And if you understand how infrastructure shapes a city, especially a city like Abuja, then you start to position yourself where the city is going next. It helps you invest rightly. So, have you ever noticed how property prices increase when roads improve in an area? If you have experienced this, I would say, total transformation, then I'd like to know in the comments. Just type yes in the comments, okay? If you've experienced how an area was once bush with no proper, internal access roads, and suddenly it grew from that to a very beautiful, city with good access roads, then I'd like to know that in the comments. But before we talk about real estate, we first need to understand something very important. I've been talking about infrastructure, mentioning infrastructure. So what exactly does infrastructure mean? So in simple terms, infrastructure refers to the systems and facilities that make a city work and make life easier for people. Let me say that again. Infrastructure simply refers to the systems and facilities that make a city work and make life easier for people. So these include things like roads, bridges, electricity supply, water supply, drainage systems, rail transport, hospitals, schools, the airport, internet, yeah, internet and telecommunications. So without infrastructure, land is simply empty land. It is just land. It is just empty land. So infrastructure on land is what transforms that land into a functional and valuable location. It is what adds value. It is what increases the value of that land. And this is one of the reasons why government invest billions in infrastructure development. Why? Again, because infrastructure attracts people, and wherever people go, real estate demand follows. Are you following? If you're following, I'd like to know, right? So let me ask you a quick question. Would you rather live somewhere with good roads, electricity, schools, and hospitals, or somewhere without any of these? I bet your answer will be the latter, right? You'd prefer to live somewhere with good roads, electricity, schools, and hospitals. So, a quick one. Most recently, I went somewhere and I heard a story of someone who lost a neighbor. She just slumped at night. And they took her to the hospital within that vicinity. And unfortunately, the hospital was not functional, right? It was not functional. And as a result, by the time they'll get to the nearest hospital, after that particular hospital, she died on her way. So imagine if the hospital that was close by was very functional, or imagine if they could easily access a proper functioning hospital. What would have happened? Maybe the story would have been completely different today. And that is why infrastructure plays a major role when it comes to real estate. So next, we're going to talk about the infrastructure ripple effect. So imagine throwing a stone into water. What happens? You see waves spreading outward, right? Now, infrastructure works in the same way. When the government builds something major, like a highway, a bridge connecting, maybe in the case of Abuja, a bridge connecting one district to another district. Like for example, currently in Abuja, there's a construction of a bridge going on that connects Jai to Gwarimpa. The construction is currently going on. There's also a road construction that leads Karshi, connects Karshi to Apple, right? So when government builds something major like that, the impact spread outward. How do I mean? It does not only affect the exact location where the project is built, it affects land values in that area, it affects housing demand in that area, it affects business activities in that area, it affects population movements in that area, and then it also affects rental properties and also investment opportunities in that area. And do you know that just one major infrastructure project can completely change the economic future of an entire area? Just one major infrastructure project can completely transform an entire area. And in the case of Abuja, an entire district. So I gave an example with Guzape in the beginning, right? So let's look at Guzape again. Initially, Guzape was carved out from Asokoro, and a few years ago, it was just bush. A lot of people ignored buying land in Guzape at the time, considering for the fact that the way Asokoro, places like Maitama were, they refused buying land in Guzape. Some of them were like, I cannot buy land in bush. Why will I buy land in that bush, right? It was that bush at the time. Now, fast forward to, over 10 years later, Guzape has completely transformed. Now you're just hearing the story, right? You're just hearing the story. For you to even get or see land in Guzape as at today to buy. It is scarce. And when you see it, you cannot even see a 150 square meter plot of land going for 50 million naira. Land in Guzape right now is in, millions of naira, right? So this is one of the perfect example of how infrastructure ripple effect completely transforms an entire area. So another question you might have in mind is, why do infrastructure affect property value in this way? Why does this even happen? So here is something you need to understand. People don't buy property simply because the land exists. No, they buy property because of convenience and accessibility, right? So infrastructure improves movement, security, business opportunities, and the quality of life. So when these things improve, then demand increases. And guess what? When demand increases, property prices also what? Rise. So real estate value is simply a reflection of how accessible and useful a location becomes, right? So one of the major things we always encourage investors to consider when they are looking to own properties or buy properties, especially in Abuja, aside confirming and checking that the title is legit, the title is okay. Another thing is accessibility, and that's the roadwork. Can you access the land you're buying? Can you drive to the land you're buying, right? So it is also one of the things that you look out for. And this road part of the infrastructure we're talking about. So a property that is located in a place where the access road have not been done yet, and a property that is located in a place where it has proper access road, the both of them will not be priced at the same value. They will not be valued at the same price, right? So it happens, and we see it all over Abuja. Now, let me give you a very practical example. So, years ago, Wuye was not as developed as it is today, right? But something very important happened. When the bridge connecting Wuye and Wuse was constructed, and most of the internal access road inside of Wuye was constructed, it improved accessibility significantly. And that accessibility led to something. The prices of properties in Wuye doubled, right? From what it was. Currently, you can get a three-bedroom apartment within the range of 8 to 15 million, and this keeps increasing. That's to say, in a couple of months ahead, it's going to increase. The prices are going to change, right? Now, movement became easier within Wuye and other major parts of Abuja, because Wuye is central. So it was easy to connect to the central business district, connect to Wuse, connect to Jabi, connect to Utako, and then the airport axis, right? So the demand for properties in Wuye increased, and that led, like I mentioned before, that led to the increase, that led to the, to prices of properties in Wuye increasing like times two of what it used to be. So if you're still following me up until this moment, just drop a thumbs up in the comments, or just drop your, best emoji in the comments. I'd like to see that. Okay. So moving on, we're going to look at the different stages of infrastructure ripple effects. So this happens in different stages. And understanding each of these stage would help you know when to invest in properties, when to buy properties. And remember, we're talking about infrastructure ripple effect in Abuja. Now, development happens in 5 stages, like I mentioned, and we're going to start with stage 1. What is a stage 1? Stage 1 is the announcement stage. This is when the government announces a major project or when a private developer announces a major project. For example, maybe construction of a highway, construction of an express road, like I mentioned previously in Abuja, there's an ongoing construction of the access road that connects Kaushi and Apo currently. It's about 60 to, let's say 50 to 60%, you know, done at the moment. It will soon be completed, right? And then maybe bridges, like I mentioned, there's a bridge that is currently under construction that is connecting Jai and Gwarimpa. And also when the government decides to build hospitals, university, major schools, or major housing projects, like the housing project we have going on in Karsana. So the government is building, constructing the renewed the renewed it's called a renewed hope housing project right in Gwarimpa. So and then the government is also constructing access road leading to that housing project, right? So at this stage, development, these are just examples, right? So, like I mentioned, it is an announcement stage when the government announces or when a private developer announces that there's going to be this kind of construction or this type of construction going on anywhere in Abuja or anywhere in the part of the city, any part of the city. That announcement, because development has not started at this stage, land is still affordable in most of these areas, right? This is the stage where smart investors pay attention. In fact, I call them the early buyers. This is the stage where all their attention, they're trying to gather information. What is happening? I'm hearing that the government is constructing a project somewhere. I need to rush and buy properties in that location. I need to hurry and buy properties in that location because they know that the infrastructure that is going to be put in place in that location will definitely add value. Or when it is already there, the value of properties around there will increase, right? So they begin to pay attention. That is stage one. Now, the next stage of this infrastructure ripple effect is the early development stage, which I call the stage two. Now, in this stage, this is when construction begins, where the project starts. At this point, you begin to see construction equipment on site. So if you hear that there's going to be a construction of a road, the government have announced it, is on news everywhere. When you go to site, you see that they've started setting up, right? You see equipment on site, the road works, you see the government contractors, you begin to see things happening already. At this stage, investors begin buying land gradually. Now, those early buyers, those smart investors that had their ears down, those ones that began to pay attention, this is the stage where they gradually begin to buy land, right? Some of them buy bulk lands, those who can afford to. They buy bulk land, they buy in hectares, right? And this is the stage where prices start to increase gradually as well. So most times when they buy, they do the preliminary works like the clearing, sometimes they put a signboard there, but they have their documents in place, maybe their allocation papers, they have it intact. They have their documents, maybe FCDA ROO, they have it intact. At this point, they begin to announce as well, put up the project in the market, like they have this property for sale in so and so place. So when you go there, the only thing you see there will likely be the access road that is being constructed, or you see maybe a government project that is going on, or you see a private individual project that is going on in that area. But these people have their allocation letter, these developers have their allocation letters, or they have their documents for these properties they've bought ready, and they've started selling already, right? And the next stage is the growth stage, which is the stage three. Now, at this stage, infrastructure is almost completed, almost, because this is the stage where developers begin building. You start seeing housing estates spreading all over that area that you assumed was bush. You start seeing structures up, you start seeing estates, apartment building, commercial complexes coming up, shopping centers. You see different real estate activities going on, and it increases rapidly. So construction becomes very visible almost every corner of that area. When you go there, you know that something is definitely happening in this area. You know that something is definitely going on in this area. This is the stage where a lot of people begin to be aware that something is happening. And this is the stage where some persons also still buy, right? And then at this particular stage, because the developer has moved from clearing, fencing, and starts putting up infrastructure in his or her estate, the price will definitely increase. So for every milestone, for every development milestone, right? So for the clearing, the excavation, building of the foundation, for every milestone, the prices increase. For every document processing, for every stage of the different stages of processing their documents, the prices also increases at this stage. And next is the stage 4, which is population movement. So at this stage, people begin relocating to that area, right? Like the previous stage, they become aware what is going on there, the infrastructure development going on there is now visible. So for the next stage, people begin relocating to that area, especially those early buyers who bought at stage 1, just at the announcement, who bought at stage 1, right? They begin to move to that area. Now, businesses begin to open in full, places like supermarkets, schools, and restaurants begin to appear, and then the demand for housing now increases. So this stage is where the rental market begin to grow strongly. So for people who invested in this particular area from the beginning for the purpose of, increasing their cash flow, this is where this is the time for them to shine. I'll put it like that. This is the time for them to shine, right? So in this stage, there are some situations where you find out that a developer or a landlord is building, let's say, a 3-bedroom block of flats. He has finished his structure to the roofing level, and then he has done the interior, but then he's yet to maybe paint the outside. And at this stage, the entire place is already rented out. And when it comes to semi-finished houses, sometimes even before they get to the roofing stage, all the blocks, if it is apartments, if it is, duplexes, they are almost sold out at this stage, right? Now, the next stage is stage 5, which is the last stage, and I call this stage the maturity stage. At this point, this area becomes fully developed. Now, property prices are already high. Demand is really, really strong. And then land here becomes scarce, right? These are places where when you find land, it's the price for it is ranging in millions. You're talking about, from, let's say, give or take 100 and something million and above, right? So land becomes scarce at this stage in these particular areas. And this is why places like Maitama and Wuse are very expensive today. They are very expensive today. They have already gone through the full infrastructure circle. That is from the announcement to the early stage, to the growth stage, to the population movement stage, to the maturity stage. They've gone full circle. So property prices in these type of locations, right? In this type of locations, property prices are really, really high. Now, one important thing you need to understand is this. Most people buy property when an area already reached stage 5. Let me say that again. A lot of people buy properties when an area has already reached stage 5. But the biggest opportunities in real estate usually exist between stage 1 and stage 3. Now, stage 1, like I mentioned, is the announcement stage. So that is why for people who understand how these real estate markets work. When they hear that announcement, when they begin to hear those speculations, right? They make their findings. They try to understand what is going on. This thing I'm hearing, is it really going to happen? Right? And then when they are very certain that this is exactly what it is, they go ahead and they take the risks and they buy. And in the long run, they are the biggest winners when it comes to investment. Why? Because they bought at the right time. And what is the right time? The right time is that early stage. They bought very, very early. And while this area is transforming, is going through these different stages of infrastructure development, their property prices is appreciating in value at the same time. Sometimes they are even still paying for this property while the value is appreciating. So currently in the city of Abuja, we have two properties that are currently at the early stage, right? They are in stage one and stage two. One is called Paint Heaven. So Paint Heaven is located off the international, off the airport road, right there in Abuja, just beside Hutu Exclusive. Now, Paint Heaven is a COO property. It was launched into the market, and it has moved from the pre-launch stage to the pre-sale. It has moved from the pre-sale prices to the actual prices. So at the moment, a plot in Paint Heaven is currently selling for 5.9 million. Remember, it is an SCDA COO property. It is at that stage right now where if you're looking to invest in real estate and you really want to get value for your money, then this is the stage where you need to invest in Paint Heaven, right? And the good news is that it is a property that has very high, or let's say very strong appreciation value. As a matter of fact, it's going to appreciate by 25% in the next few weeks. By the end of this month, to be precise, it's going to appreciate by 25%, right? So if at the moment a 150 square meter plot in Paint Heaven is selling for 5.9 million, then by 31st of March, or let's say 1st of April, is no longer going to be 5.8 million. It will be a little higher than 5.8 million, which in a nutshell, what I'm saying is now is the best time for you to key in, and there is a property at that stage that will give you high return on your investment. Now, the second one is called The Groove, right? The Groove is a property that is located in Wuye. As we all know, Wuye is at stage 5, right? The maturity stage. It is already developed. So when you find land in Wuye, one, it is difficult to find. And then when you eventually find, it is really, really, it is an opportunity for you to key in early. So the Groove Wuye currently is at the pre-sale price, and it has 200, 350, and 500 square meter plot sizes available for sale. Now, the 200 is currently selling for 92 million naira. So if you're that person that wants to own your own land in Wuye, this is an opportunity for you. Or maybe you want to build your dream home in Wuye, this is an opportunity for you. So these are the pre-sale prices, right? So it is an opportunity for you to key in before it moves from pre-sale price to the actual price. Remember, it's at the early stage, right? At the moment, it was just launched into the market. We've not started any preliminary works on site yet. So it is a good opportunity to lock in a plot or two plots immediately before the price increases. And the next one we're going to be looking at is Hutu Exclusive. Now, Hutu Exclusive is that property that has passed stage 1, stage 2. It is currently in stage 3. So at the moment, there's lots of infrastructure development happening within the estate and around the estate. From construction of the access road from the airport expressway leading directly to the gate, and then the perimeter fencing, the gatehouse, and construction of the different features in that estate. So it's a lifestyle and golf resort estate, one of its kind, right there in the city of Abuja. And for every week, the infrastructure development moves from one stage to another. So currently, a plot of 150 square meter in Abuja exclusive is selling for 11,664,000 naira, right? So this property appreciated in value on the 1st of January 2026. And now again, it is set to appreciate. Like I mentioned before, at every milestone of infrastructure development, the value of the property appreciates, right? So the value of this property is going to move from this particular stage to another stage. So on the 31st of March, the price of Hutu exclusive is going to appreciate from the current prices. And again, it is the best time ever you should invest. So we have plot sizes from 150 square meters to 1,000 square meters. If you want to invest for the purpose of business, maybe you want to build and sell, maybe you want to live in, or maybe for the purpose of rental income, maybe short-term or long-term rentals to increase your cash flow, it is another opportunity, right? And the next property I'm going to talk about is the signature residence. So the signature residence is at stage 1 and stage 2 of infrastructure development, like I mentioned here, right? So in this particular property, the clearing is done, and we have the fencing of the gatehouse is currently under construction. The fencing is also under construction. This property is located in Wuye. Yes, in Wuye. It is a high-end luxury property designed for people who value privacy, exclusivity, and who want peace of mind. It is a mini estate. It's not going to be a very big estate. So if you like to live in that kind of estate, and again, it is in town, Wuye. Wuye is a location that is central with easy connectivity to other major districts in Abuja and also to other major expressways in Abuja. So it is a very good location. And if you're looking to own, what we have available in the signature residence are 3-bedroom apartments. We have 5-bedroom semi-detached duplexes. We have 6-bedroom fully detached duplexes and 7-bedroom fully detached duplexes. And it's going to be delivered to you, fully finished, where you have the opportunity to design your own interior to your liking, right? So if this is what you're looking for, if this falls into the category of what you're looking for, looking to invest in this year, then I think you should consider it. And another one is Onyx City, right? Onyx City is located in Gusa, Idu. Gusa just shares boundary with Idu and is about, let's say, 5 minutes drive from the Idu train station. So this particular property is also an FCDA C of O property with all the necessary approvals in place. So currently at the moment, it is at that stage where infrastructure development just began. So it is currently selling for 7.5 million for a 150 square meter plot size, but not for long. So in this estate, we have 150 square meter all the way to 750 square meters, right? So if you want to own something that is close to the city in a place like Idu, then this is also another opportunity for you to invest and own something really, really valuable. Now, if you've watched up until this moment and you have questions, just kindly drop your questions in the comment section. There's a number there, if you want more on which properties more guidance on which property you're going to invest in Abuja, reach out to that number and would guide you through the entire process. So, in conclusion, real estate growth is rarely accidental. So cities grow in the direction of infrastructure. And if you understand the ripple effects of infrastructure in Abuja, you just start positioning yourself in the path of future growth. And this will help you invest rightly. This will help you invest your money where you'd see value for it. So thank you. With this, we've come to the end of today's session. Again, thank you so much for joining today's section. And if you found this section really, really helpful, please share this live with someone who wants to understand real estate better. And see you in our next live.